Welcome to section 6.2, solve linear systems by substitution. So just like in sports, if you are subbing out with someone, substitution means that we're going to solve linear systems by swapping one thing for something else. And this is actually a really nice system because when we have equal signs, that means whatever's on the left side can be substituted with whatever's on the right side or vice versa. So just looking at this first equation, what we have written essentially says y can be substituted with 3x plus 2. And so that actually allows us to then approach our second equation that says x plus 2y equals 11, because we know that this y here can be substituted with that same 3x plus 2. Because the reason is with this, these are still two equations of lines. And so we're trying to find what is this point where they intersect that has the same x and the same y value. So in the end, we're trying to, our answer, our goal, should look like a set of coordinate points, just an x and y coordinate, so we know what our answer is. So since y can be substituted with 3x plus 2, we can go x plus 2, and then we're substituting in 3x plus 2 for y. And that has to equal 11. Well, now we can distribute that 2 into both sides. So we would have a 6x plus 4, and then we still have that x out at the beginning, and that has to equal 11. Now you can combine your like terms, so x plus 6x will get us a 7x plus 4 equals 11. We can subtract our 4 from both sides, which will get us a 7x equals 7. And now to get x by itself, we just have to divide both sides by 7. And when we do that, we'll be left with an x equals 1. So our final answer, x should be 1. Now we need to solve for what is the y value that goes with an x of 1. So we can come back to either of our original equations and plug in that 1 for x and solve for y. Especially in substitution, go ahead and plug it right back in to your first equation, because you already have it equal to y. So when you do that, you will now know that y equals 3 times 1 plus 2. And you can just solve at this point. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So when x is 1, y has to be 5. Now let's go ahead and try this next equation. This one is not quite as easy because, well, nothing is equal to either x or y right away. We have to do a little bit of work to solve for x or y. So what I would do, just eyeballing this, we have 1x, negative 2y's, 4x, and 6y's. I'd probably work to try to solve for this x by itself, because we don't have to divide by anything to get it alone. It's just already there. So first thing I would do then is I would just add 2y to both sides on that top equation, which will then leave us with just an x equals negative 6 plus 2y. And now we can substitute this whole thing in for our x down here. So you'll have a 4 times negative 6 plus 2y plus 6y is equal to 4. Well, now we can distribute this into both sides. So we'll have a negative 24 plus 8y plus 6y equals 4. We can combine our like terms. So 6y plus 8y will give us 14y. And we can add that 24 to both sides. So 4 plus 24 will get us to 28. And now we can divide both sides by 14 to get y by itself. So y is going to equal 2. So remember, our final answer is a set of coordinate points. So in this case, our y has to be 2. And now we can go and plug this 2 back into our equation here. You could have done this equation or this equation, but it'll be easier if you go back to the equation that you substituted in earlier, because it's already solved for the other variable. So now we know that x is equal to negative 6 plus 2 times 2. Well, 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 6 plus 4 is going to be a negative 2. So our answer in this case is negative 2. So now let's go, and this is actually a really good real-life example problem. So you are trying to decide which internet company are you going to work with. One, the internet service provider, it costs you $10 for your setup fee, and then it costs you $21.95 per month. The other one is through a website hosting company that does not charge you an initial setup fee, but it costs a little bit more each month at $22.45. After how many months will your cost be the same? When I first moved to town, I was trying to decide, do I go with Midco or do I go with CenturyLink? And was trying to do the same math with them. And I ended up going with CenturyLink because they did not charge me a setup fee, and they actually cost me the same, actually less per month than Midco is going to cost me. So it ended up actually being a really helpful math problem. This is one straight out of the book with not as great numbers because you actually need to solve some problems where one might not be as obviously more affordable than the other. So just looking at this, our cost for the first one is equal to $10 plus $21.95 per month. The cost for the second equation is strictly just $22.45 per month. So let's actually go back to our graphing calculator and solve this on there. So back on our graphing calculator, we can clear out those previous equations we were working with. And now our first equation was 10 plus $21.95 per month. And the second equation was just $22.45 per month. And I know right away that this is going to be a much larger y value than what I've got there, because we're counting up by about $25 a month. So let's just say this goes up to $500, because that will be a good number of months. Oh, well, that's actually really hard to see because those are really close together. So let's come back, and for our x value, we'll go from 0 to 10 and see if that works better. So here's our first line, and that second line is really close. Again, really hard to see. So 500 might have been a little bit too much. So instead of 500, let's go 250. And if we graph that, there's our first line. Ooh, it doesn't seem like they're actually crossing yet within those first 10. So let's go, then instead of 0 to 10, we'll go 0 to 20. And now that's going off the screen. So this is one of the annoying things is we just have to keep adjusting in order to get it to actually fit. So there's our first line. I honestly can't tell if these are crossing or not because it's really close. So I'm actually just going to hop over to the table quick and just see what's going on. So to start, our y1s look like they are larger than our y2s. And that is the same from the very beginning. Our y1 is larger. So let's just see, where do they cross? So y1 is larger than our y2, y1 larger than y2. They're getting close. Oh, hey, there we go. Here's where they're exactly the same after 20 months. It was a little bit of a guess and check sort of method, but it worked. We were able to see that at 20 months, they cost the same, which is exactly actually what we were trying to solve. Because it asked, find the number of months after which the total cost will be the same. And our answer was 20 months. So that's another way that you can use your graphing calculator to actually help you solve this. Let's do one last problem. So in cold temperatures, a 70% antifreeze, 30% water mix should be used in a car. About how many quarts of 100% antifreeze need to be mixed with 50-50 antifreeze water combo to be combined to make 11 quarts of a 70% antifreeze, 30% water mix? Well, all the percentages in here are starting to sound like a lot. But let's just think about let's just say the number of quarts of the 100%, we will call that X. And the number of 50-50 that we mix, we'll call that Y. Well, if we combine the number of quarts of 100% plus the number of quarts of 50%, that needs to combine to make 11 quarts. So we have one of our two equations here. Now, the other nice thing is our goal is we're trying to make 70% antifreeze. So if we have, let's just say X, so we have 100% times X plus 50% times Y. That needs to come out to make a 70% mixture. So, oops, and actually it is 70, and actually it's 70% times 11, because it's 100% of X quarts, so we're multiplying the percent times the number of quarts, plus 50% times Y quarts equals 70% times 11 quarts. Well, when we do this, we will come out with an X plus 0.5 Y equals 7.7. And then we also still know from above that X plus Y equals 11. So what I would probably do here is I would take this equation and let's solve for X. So we know that if we subtract Y from both sides, that we'll have X equals 11 minus Y. Because now we can substitute that in for our X in this top equation. So we'll get an 11 minus Y plus 0.5 Y equals 7.7. Now we can go ahead and combine our like terms here. So a negative Y plus 0.5 Y is a negative 0.5 Y plus 11 equals 7.7. Now we can go ahead and subtract the 11 from both sides to leave us with a negative 0.5 Y equals, that would be negative 3.3, which we can now divide by negative 0.5 on both sides. So Y will come out to be 6.6, positive. Well now, if Y is equal to 6.6, that means 11 minus that 6.6 is going to equal X. So 11 minus 6.6 is going to come out to be, let's see, 0.4 will get us 7. So 4.4. So X is equal to 4.4 and Y is equal to 6.6. Which means, in other words, we need 4.4 gallons of 100% antifreeze and 6.6, oh sorry, not gallons, quarts. 6.6 quarts of the 50-50 antifreeze water mix. So that's all I've got for you for today. So good luck, and as always, let me know if you have any questions.